All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're tackling Maurice Merleau-Ponty's Phenomenology of Perception. And I know, that sounds super heavy, but stick with me here. This isn't some dusty abstract philosophy lesson. It's actually a really powerful, and I'd say practical, guide to seeing the world you already live in a totally new way. So, the big question right off the bat, what is phenomenology? You'd think that would be a simple place to start, right? But here's what's so interesting. Even the guys who came up with it had a tough time pinning it down. It's kind of like trying to describe the taste of water. You know exactly what it is from experience, but trying to put it into words, that's the real challenge.
And get this, Merleau-Ponty himself totally gets it. He admits that phenomenology can feel like a philosophy that says everything, which kind of makes you wonder if it's all just hot air. But that's the whole point. He tells us, look, this isn't some rigid system you have to memorize. Think of it more like a manner or style of thinking. A new method, a new practice, just a fresh pair of glasses for looking at things.
Okay, so to really get this new style of thinking, we first have to understand what it's pushing back against. Merleau-Ponty says we usually fall into one of two major traps when we think about, well, ourselves and the world around us. Let's call them the scientific view and the idealist view. So let's break down these two traps. On one side, you've got the scientific view. This basically treats you like you're just another object in the world, a walking, talking collection of atoms, a biological machine. But Merleau-Ponty calls this view naive and dishonest. Why? Because it completely ignores the one thing you're absolutely sure of, your actual lived experience of being you. It's like describing a fantastic meal by just listing its chemical compounds. You miss the whole point. Then, on the other extreme, you have the idealist view. This is the classic brain-in-a-jar scenario. It says you're a pure thinking mind, and the entire world is just a simulation you're cooking up in your head. The problem with that is it completely cuts you off from the real, messy, beautiful world you actually live in and touch every single day. So if we're not just objects, and we're not just disembodied minds, then what are we? Well, this is where phenomenology comes in, with a simple but totally revolutionary answer. It's a kind of rallying cry from its founder, Husserl. Back to the things themselves. It's a call to get back to our raw, unfiltered experience.
And what does back to the things themselves really mean in practice? It means the goal here is to reawaken our most basic, direct, and you could even say primitive, contact with the world. It's about how we experience things before we start slapping labels on them, before we start analyzing them with scientific theories. It's like getting back to the source code of our own experience.
And this brings us to a really cool concept, the Lebenswelt, or the lived world. This is the world that's always just already there before we even start thinking about it. Merleau-Ponty has this amazing analogy. He says science is like a map, and the lived world is the actual countryside. A map is useful, right? It gives you objective facts, distances, names, elevations. But it will never capture the experience of actually walking through that countryside, feeling the wind on your face, smelling the rain on the dirt, hearing the birds. The lived world is the countryside, not the map. So how do we get back to this lived world? How do we start experiencing the countryside instead of just staring at the map all the time? Well, phenomenology gives us a kind of toolkit. It has three main tools to help us shift our perspective and see the world with fresh eyes. Okay, here are the three big tools. First, the phenomenological reduction. It sounds complicated, but it just means hitting the pause button on all our usual assumptions. So instead of seeing a chair as a thing to sit on, you just see it for what it is, a particular shape, a specific color, taking up space. You're not denying it's a chair, you're just suspending your automatic judgment for a second to really see it. Second, seeking essences. Now, this isn't about finding a dry dictionary definition. It's about trying to capture the living feel of an experience. Like, what is the essence of seeing the color red? And third, operative intentionality. This is a huge one. It's the idea that your mind is never just a passive box that stuff gets poured into. It's always active, always reaching out towards the world, desiring that coffee, noticing that sound, remembering a face. Your mind is an engine, not a container. And you know, to make that first tool even simpler, the best way to think about this whole phenomenological reduction thing is just wonder, pure wonder. It's not some crazy mental gymnastics. It's about getting back to that childlike sense of awe at how strange and miraculous the world is, a world we usually just take for granted.
And what about that second tool, seeking essences? Merleau-Ponty gives us this incredible mental image. He says it's meant to bring back all the living relationships of experience, as the fisherman's net draws up from the depths of the ocean, quivering fish and seaweed. Just picture that. You're not trying to pull up one single, dead, neatly labeled fish. No, You're trying to capture the whole messy, dripping, living, breathing reality of the experience itself.
All right, so we've seen the traps of how we usually think, and now we have our new toolkit. We've hit pause with a sense of wonder, and we're ready to capture the living texture of things. So what happens when we put it all together? This is where the big shift happens. First things first, phenomenology just throws those old ideas right out the window. You are not a mind floating around inside a body, like a ghost in a machine. And you are not just an object sitting in the world, like a rock on the ground. Both of those ideas create this false split, this separation between you and the world that just doesn't exist when we really look at our actual experience.
So here's the absolute heart of it. Merleau-Ponty says, "Truth does not inhabit only the inner man. There is no inner man. Man is in the world, and only in the world does he know himself." Let that sink in. There is no secret inner self that's separate from your body or your environment. You are fundamentally, completely, and inseparably in the world.
So what does this being in the world actually mean for you day to day? Well, it means your mind and your body are one unified system. You think with your body. It means who you are is shaped by your real, concrete situation, your culture, your friends, your history, and, crucially, it means you are never just a passive bystander watching life go by on a screen. You are an active participant, always shaping your world and being shaped by it. The world isn't just a stage you act on, it's the very fabric of your being.
Now, this might seem like a small shift in thinking, but honestly, its implications are massive. This idea of being in the world doesn't just change how we see ourselves, it completely flips the script on how we think about something as big as truth itself.
Think about it. If truth isn't some secret thing hidden inside of us, and it's not some objective fact waiting out there for us to find, then where is it? For Merleau-Ponty, truth and meaning actually pop up right at the intersection of our experiences. He says meaning is revealed where our own paths cross, and where our path crosses with someone else's, all engaging like gears. So truth isn't found, it's something that we build together in our shared world.
And this leads to one of the most beautiful and powerful ideas in his whole work. If truth is something we forge together in the world, then what is philosophy? Merleau-Ponty says it's not the reflection of a pre-existing truth, but, like art, the act of bringing truth into being. Wow. Suddenly, philosophy isn't just about studying old ideas. It's an active, creative, artistic act.
And so, in the end, all of these big ideas, the reduction, essences, being in the world, they all point to this one simple, profound act. True philosophy isn't about escaping the world to think deep thoughts in an ivory tower. No, it's about plunging right back into our messy, complicated, amazing world and just relearning how to look at it, to truly see it again in all its weirdness and richness and wonder.
So, we'll end with this thought. If life itself, if philosophy, is an act of bringing truth into being through our shared experience in the world, well, that leaves us with a really powerful and deeply personal question. The question isn't just, what is the truth anymore? It's, through your actions, through your perceptions, and through your relationships, what world are you helping to create?